The story continues, and a sister explains that Lord Laplace created the world. When he disappeared, he gave everyone a special ability called a skill. People are thankful to Lord Laplace for this gift. At an orphanage, kids are eating their food, but one child isn't eating, and the sister is concerned he might be sick. The boy complains that Lord Laplace isn't fair because he gave amazing skills to holy knights and warriors, but gave him a weak skill. The sister recalls a time when Lord Laplace protected the world, and there were no skills, status, or monsters, and everyone lived equally. The boy wishes he was born during that time, and the sister comforts him. Another sister arrives and says they've searched for someone named Sahara in the area, but couldn't find her. They wonder where Sahara has gone. The scene shifts to a kidnapped girl being scolded by her kidnapper. He tells her to cry and shout more because it will please a holy knight when she becomes his plaything. The kidnapper is worried that this won't end well and leaves the girl, who begins crying. Fate arrives and assures her that she will be okay. He frees her from restraints and suggests they escape while the kidnapper is away. The kidnapper notices them and questions if Fate can fight while protecting the girl. Fate thinks he needs to keep the girl safe. Greed tells Fate to retreat further back, knowing that the kidnapper underestimates Fate's strength. Fate hides behind some boxes, and the kidnapper believes that people like Fate, who have a sense of justice, are useful. He plans to kill them in front of the kids to make them listen to him. Suddenly, Fate startles the kidnapper by throwing some boxes at him and launches an attack, but the kidnapper manages to dodge it. The kidnapper then says he's going to finish things and tries to use an attack called Sharp Edge. Greed figures out this attack and tells Fate to quickly cut the kidnapper using the sword. Fate does just that. After subduing the kidnapper, Fate asks who ordered him to kidnap the child, but the kidnapper initially refuses to say anything. Fate decides to use some pressure tactics and tortures the kidnapper a bit. Eventually, the kidnapper gives in and reveals that Haddoff Lar was the one behind the kidnapping. Fate takes the girl outside and realizes she's hungry. He suggests they get something to eat. The girl, whose name is Sahara, agrees. Fate buys some meat for both Sahara and himself. Sahara finds it delicious and mentions it's her first time having meat. This makes her emotional, and she starts crying. Moved by her tears, Fate shares some of his food with her. The scene shifts to Fate returning Sahara to the orphanage. Everyone is relieved to see her back, and Sahara and the sister express their gratitude to Fate. Fate mentions that it's the first time someone has thanked him because he has a weak skill. Sahara wonders if Fate's skill is also useless, and Fate admits that it always makes him hungry. Fate then offers some advice to Sahara. He tells her that no matter how tough life gets, she should try to laugh off the difficulties. He assures her that someday she'll find happiness. Fate remembers that his father once told him the same words. Back then, he didn't fully understand their meaning, but he realizes now that those words have helped him survive for so long. After their conversation, Fate leaves and realizes that he has gained a new skill called one-handed sword mastery from the kidnapper. Greed explains that with this skill, Fate can use technique skills, and it includes some arts that allow for a counterattack with 2 strikes. Fate thinks it must be similar to the Sharp Edge attack. Fate wonders what would have happened if the kidnapper had used Sharp Edge earlier. Greed mentions that Fate would likely have been killed if that had happened. Fate expresses frustration, feeling that Greed should have warned him about this earlier. Greed reminds Fate that battles also involve luck, and the strongest don't always win. Fate believes that luck would have been on his side today, but he doesn't want to rely on luck. Greed then reminds Fate that tomorrow is his first day of work at the House of Heart and questions if Fate plans to go there dressed as he is. Fate realizes he forgot to buy some clothes. The scene shifts to a man informing the restaurant's master that Lord Mason has been killed by the Divine Dragon. He's certain of it, as he confirmed with his warrior friend. He mentions that Roxy will now be the head of House Heart. Without Lord Mason, who prevented the tyranny of the Holy Knights, even Lady Roxy might struggle to keep them in check. The master is concerned about this development. The man wonders if Fate is okay, and the master mentions that Fate used to visit around this time after work, but he hasn't seen him today. The scene then cuts to Fate heading to House Heart. The next day, Fate dresses nicely and arrives at a large place. He meets Roxy there and is captivated by her beauty. He tells her she's so beautiful that he can't stop staring, making Roxy feel embarrassed. Roxy compliments Fate, saying he looks good too. She then takes him to a grave and explains it's her father's grave. Her father fought a dangerous creature called the Divine Dragon Galia 5 days ago and lost his life. Galia is a continent infested with monsters, and keeping them in check is the Holy Knight's duty. This year, it was House Heart's duty, and it's usually not very dangerous, but the Divine Dragon unexpectedly attacked and wiped out her father's entire team. Fate is surprised that Roxy is caring for him despite her difficult circumstances. Roxy asks him not to make such a sad face, and reveals that she's now the head of House Heart. She suggests they make things lively together, and Fate feels honored but hesitates to shake her hand because he can read thoughts when he touches someone. The head maid, Haru, arrives and introduces Fate to her. She asks Fate to behave appropriately as a servant from now on, and he agrees. The scene shifts to Fate happily eating meat at lunch, which surprises the other servants. Later, while working in the garden, Fate is told to take a break, but he wants to finish his work first. His co-workers, Oliver and Menura, mentioned that they initially thought he was strange because he talked to his sword. Fate's stomach growls, and Oliver realizes lunchtime is over, wondering if Fate didn't eat properly. Fate insists he's fine. Haru arrives and tells Fate that Lady Roxy wants to see him. Fate has tea with Roxy, but he's preoccupied with his growing hunger and doesn't respond to her question. Roxy brings him back to reality and calls him Faye. Fate is puzzled by this nickname and explains his late father used to call him that. His father was killed in a monster subjugation. Roxy insists that Faye is Fate's new nickname and says they're like a family now. Fate asks her to call him Fate instead, but Roxy refuses, and suddenly, Fate faints. He wakes up in his room and finds a letter telling him to take a day off and rest. Fate asks Greed what's wrong with him, and Greed explains that his hunger wasn't this intense before. Greed mentions that the gluttony skill can't be controlled once it craves a soul. The more souls Fate consumes, the stronger he'll become, but his appetite will grow too. Fate wonders what will happen if he stops consuming souls, and Greed warns that he might starve to death or lose control and attack others. Greed mentions that it shows in Fate's eyes when he loses control, and Fate notices that his eyes are now red. The scene changes to Fate going out to hunt some monsters. He notices that everyone around him smells delicious to him. Greed explains that it's because of his skill, Starvation Boost, which makes his gluttony skill consume souls more efficiently. It also enhances his night vision and allows him to paralyze anyone with lower stats than him. Fate realizes that all the goblins around him are paralyzed, and he easily defeats them. However, it doesn't satisfy his hunger. Greed takes Fate to a nest of hobgoblins. There, Fate fights and defeats some hobgoblins using Greed's power. After killing several of them, Fate manages to calm down. He decides he doesn't want to experience this hunger again, and Greed warns that Fate will need to consume souls regularly if this continues. Fate agrees. Suddenly, the ground trembles, and Fate notices a Goblin King causing the tremors. The Goblin King's stats are similar to Fate's, and it has a skill called Auto Recovery. Fate wants that skill. The Goblin King eats a human it recently captured, and Fate launches a surprise attack, slicing off its arm. He dodges the Goblin King's subsequent attacks and defeats it. This increases Fate's stats, and he also gains the Auto Recovery skill. Greed mentions that Fate can now release his first stage, which is his new form. To unlock new forms, Fate needs to sacrifice some of his stat points to Greed. Fate wonders how many stat points he'll need to offer. Greed explains that Fate must give up all the points he's accumulated since they met. Fate hesitates, thinking it's too much, but Greed emphasizes that Fate will lose the qualifications to use him if he doesn't. He convinces Fate that they will become stronger together, and Fate agrees. Greed then transforms into his new form after absorbing Fate's stat points, and Fate notices that Greed's new form is a bow. Greed asks Fate to use the bow to kill the hobgoblin that has been spying on them. Fate wonders where the arrows are, and Greed explains that they will appear when Fate draws the string. Fate shoots the hobgoblin, and Greed tells him that he doesn't need to aim because the arrow will always hit its target. The arrow kills the hobgoblin. The scene shifts to Fate leaving the Goblin King's ears outside the orphanage. He thinks that with this, the children there will be able to eat without any problems for a while. This brings an end to episode 2. Don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching.